it's Michelle from Aliso, and I'm here at my home studio in North Central Connecticut. I'd like to share a few things that I really enjoy making. First of all, I love home decor projects, and I'm going to show you how to make a very simple lumbar pillow. This one has an invisible zipper, which is a little bit more difficult, and I actually have a class on Creative Bug where it shows that in detail. So if you'd like to visit, go ahead and take a look under Michele Muska, and you can see it under lumbar pillow. But today we're going to make something similar and just do a very simple closure. We're also going to show you how to make your own pillow form out of some cotton. So if you don't have a pillow form at home or can't get one, or you want an odd sized pillow, this would be a really great idea to do yourself. And then secondly, I'd like to talk about yo-yos, fabric yo-yos, which I just love. I love them vintage, I love them in solids, and I just think they're really fun and a great project to take on the go. So what I've done is shown how to use fabric yo-yos and put them on a pillow as an embellishment and maybe give a little more modern, updated look. So let me clear this aside and I'll show you some of my yo-yo collection. My mom found this king-size handmade yo-yo quilt at a yard sale. It was in a garbage bag and it was $8. The woman who was selling it, this was made by her grandmother. So my mom was quite surprised that she wanted to sell it, but was very excited when she brought it home and gave it to me because she knew how much I loved fabric yo-yos. Yo-yos were very popular in the 30s and 40s. Women started to work outside of the home, drive their family members to appointments, and while they were waiting and on their lunchtime, it was a great project for them to do, to hand stitch. But originally, yo-yos, when they first started to become popular, they were made mostly out of feed sacks. So feed sacks are small sacks made out of 100% cotton, and they're really cute prints usually, or geometric kind of modern looking patterns, and they had flour or chicken feed and things like, and grain and things like that in them. So this was a 10-pound bag of flour and has a sweet little print on it. These are a little bit larger. These are actually from Land O'Lakes, so it was really kind of fun. My friend Darlene Zimmerman lent these to me. She actually has a feed sack fabric line with Robert Kaufman, if you want to take a look at that. So this was a 100-pound bag of chicken feed. So just a really interesting piece of history. Also in the 30s, the World's Fair brought toy yo-yos to the United States, and they also feel that that was possibly part of its popularity. I also, you can make not just out of cotton, but you can make yo-yos out of anything. So these are made out of silk, and they're put on point on a blue velvet background, and it's actually a pillow blank. So let me show you a few other samples. So this weighs a ton. I actually tried to put this on our bed and my husband said it was too heavy, so I had to take it off. This is a modern quilt, and it's made out of 27 different colors of Kona solids. So starting with a royal dark blue, going through all the shades of blue, and then into the greens and teal. Now this is actually a quilt, and a quilt is made up of 3 layers. So you have the backing, the filler or the batting, and the top layer. So I actually put the yo-yos onto the quilt, sewing them first in rows and then placing on here. The quilt I just showed you, made out of feed sack, oh, I have a little friend visiting me, this is Luna, is actually called a coverlet. We've always called it a yo-yo quilt, I think just because that's what we're used to calling it, but it's actually called a coverlet because it doesn't have the 3 layers. So you can find out how to make this quilt. I have a book called Quilting the New Classics, and Of course, Luna thinks that she can lay just about anywhere, called Quilting the New Classics. It talks a little bit about the history of yo-yos. It touches on some of the things I just spoke about, and it will give you directions and instructions on how to make this quilt in particular. So let me clean up and we'll get started with our pillow. First of all, you will need fabric for your blank. I would suggest measure the finished pillow that you would like to have and add 2 inches to the length and the width times 2 for the front and back. And you can do the same for the lining fabric if you're going to be making your own pillow form. You will also need fabric for your yo-yo embellishments if you're going to be making those, and some embroidery floss. You'll also need an acrylic ruler, fabric shears, a rotary cutter and rotary cutting mat, some batting if you're going to be making your own pillow form, and you'll need some straight pins and an embroidery needle. I'm also showing you the Clover yo-yo maker, which is also a really great tool if you feel more comfortable using a tool instead of doing your yo-yos by hand. They're also hand stitched as well. I will be using our Oliso Mini Project Iron, and I have everything on my wool mat that Mountain Mist sent me. It covers almost the entire working surface, and it actually is 90% wool and 10% polyester, so it's actually hydrophobic, and it wicks away the water if you use a lot of steam or pressing spray, which I like to use both. So let me clean up my work surface and we'll get started. Once you decide on the final size of your pillow blank, add 1 inch to the width and the length, and that will be the pieces you cut out. So you'll need 2 pieces, one for the front and the back. So I've already done that. I have sewn around all sides and left about a good 8-inch opening on one side to fit my pillow form. And I've also snipped each corner. So when I turn it right side out, I'll have less bulk and it will make a nice point. So once you get that done, you can turn it right side out. I love the way linen looks for home decor fabrics. And you know, some people might prefer something that doesn't get as maybe wrinkly, but I just, you know, love the natural look of it. So here we have that. I also folded this under and press that, and that will make it easier for us to sew up the opening once we have our pillow form inserted. So I did the exact same thing with the insert pillow form blank as I did with our pillow. I sewed it the exact same way and turned it right side out. I clipped the edges and then I started to stuff it. So just a little note about stuffing. What I would suggest is, you know, kind of liberally stuff it, not too much. And once you get that all done, you can just take a couple of pins, you know, straight pins, secure the opening and fit it inside your pillow blank. That way you'll know what the pillow will look like. I prefer a less fully stuffed pillow. I think it just looks a little more comfortable and feels a little bit more comfortable. Remember, if you really stuff it tightly, it will actually make the corners like really pop out to some, like kind of some points, and that might not be the look you're going for. But you know, so take some time and try to you know, figure that out before you get it totally sewn up and done, and then you won't have to take it apart. So once you get it to the filling that you desire, then you can just run this down the sewing machine or slip stitch it up by hand. So let me clean this up and I'll show you how to make the yo-yo embellishments. I've cut a 7-inch circle, and that's going to give me a finished yo-yo about 3.5 inches across. And I like to just give a little press around the edge, about 1/4 of an inch. Now this is a step that you wouldn't have to do if you're going to be using the Clover yo-yo maker, and all of those instructions come with the packaging. But if you don't have that, this is an easy way to make a yo-yo as well. So there you have it. So remember, if your fabric has a right and a wrong side, you want to make sure to fold over your seam allowance onto the wrong side. This is a woven fabric, so it pretty much looks the same on each side. So a little easier for me there. Okay, and I've already started. I used a running stitch. I use single thread, but this is a quilting thread, so it's a little bit stronger. If you're using, like, say, cotton thread or even polyester, or polyester is a little stronger, you might want to double your thread, and that way when you're pulling the yo-yo tight into the center, your thread doesn't break. So I started on this side, and I just have a little bit left to go, so I'll show you how I did that. I'm going to pull. Okay, and then I'm going to start to gently gather. It's almost like a bowl. There. Now, because my yo-yo is large, I have a lot of fabric gathering to the center. So it's not going to completely come together in the middle, but I'm okay with that because this is a woven fabric, and I think that the other side looks just fine. So what I'll do is I will secure that a few times once I get it nice and, you know, that circle even in the middle, and I'll just come through on each side. And so, and then come up you know, a ½ inch or so in one of those folds. And I lost my needle and thread here. Okay, so I'm going to go back down in and up. Until I go all the way around. And that's just going to make sure that the yo-yo stays in place when I go to sew it onto the pillow. Now you could make your 3 yo-yos and sew them together and then put them on your pillow, or you can put them on one at a time. And you can even do this step prior to sewing the pillow front and back together if you find that easier. Okay, so let's look and see what's happening on this side. So you can see that I've gone completely around in the circle, and since this is going to be against the pillow, I think that I can just whip stitch it a few times and clip it, and I'll be fine. So, and you can give that a little press if you like it a little flatter. And then I've already started to put my center yo-yo on. So I just took a pin and pinned it around, and then I took my needle and thread and just started picking up into the edge of the yo-yo like that, and just gently pulling. And I'm going to go around the entire yo-yo. Okay, so I think you get the idea there. And once you do that, then you can attach this yo-yo to this side, and then you'll put your third one over here. And don't forget, this is, you know, totally optional. You could even make a bigger yo-yo, you could make them offset, you could put a line down the side. So this is where that you can get creative and totally make the pillow your your own. So after this step, this is our finished piece right here. And as you can see, we have the 3 yo-yos sewn on. And then all I did was take some embroidery floss and brought it up from underneath inside, and I did a quick running stitch around the outside of the 3 yo-yos. And you could not do that, or you could even go further. You could make some of the circles offset. You could make several lines around it, whatever you like. So here's our finished pillow. And then once that's completed and you have the stuffing all inside inserted, you will just whip stitch up the bottom here, and that will be it. Okay, so earlier when we sewed up our pillow, I had suggested that you fold under the seam allowance and press. And this is where it really comes in handy to just make a nice edge for you to pin and then to eventually sew. Whoops, I need a knot in that. And just going to, and you can do a blind stitch or you can do a whip stitch. Remember, once your pillow is sitting on a couch or a bed, you really won't see the bottom seam at all. So you're going to continue across there, and that will complete your pillow.